Thank you for joining us today. Maybe we wait for a couple of more minutes for people to join. Ms. Manisha?
Um, Good afternoon, Ms. Shanti. Let's just wait for a couple of more minutes. Hopefully,
Sure,
everybody
sure.
will go, and then we
Yeah,
can start. Thank you.
definitely, definitely. And the meeting is also getting recorded
Yes,
so that if in case you want to refer back to anything in the future.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Education USA's Financial Aid Applications, more specifically the CSS Profile and Overview. Thank you, first of all, Ms. Manisha and the school for organizing this. And I know this is the real need of the hour. And I'm sure many parents have already started filling, and some of them may have some specific questions too. So, what I thought, instead of just taking everyone through some set of screenshots and everything, I have created a form myself, and so that people are able to understand how we can go through and sort of start filling up the applications in a better way. Again, the numbers, representations that I have used in the forms are truly mine, and I don't suggest or recommend that that's the way you should go about. It is just for you to know what are the data points that you will be asked to fill up, and I would recommend parents to use their discretion and also keep all the background forms that are required to fill this handy so that you're giving the right picture about your financial status to the institutions that really require this profile. Okay. So with that pretext, I'm going to just begin the session and give a quick introduction to Education USA and how we support international students. So the Education USA is a US State Department supported body, and our mandate is to offer accurate, comprehensive, current, and unbiased information on US higher education. This is a global program, and we have 6 centers in India. The centers in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Hyderabad, and Hyderabad has 2 centers. And I'm joining you from the center in Chennai, which is located inside the US consulate in Chennai. I'm happy to meet people from different parts of India. So we really feel very happy to share this image with you because this depicts the current student population in the US with a focus to India contributing to 30% of this entire population. Close to 30%, but it's actually 29. So out of every 3 international students that you may meet in the campus, one is from India. So that's where it is. So the interest to go to US keep increasing. And it also interesting to note the fields that really attracts the students. I think this is not an unknown answer because 56% of the international students prefer to go in the STEM field. And even the kind of students we meet, predominant population is leaning towards STEM. There are multiple reasons to that. One, I think even India is a very strong STEM focused student population, is one. Secondly, when you go abroad and study, uh, the return on investment or the opportunity to stay back in the country becomes a primary factor in choosing it, right? So, on that note, STEM fields enables a student to stay back for a total of 3 years after they successfully graduate from whatever level of education that they are going in for. So these representation typically showcase a strong intent toward math and computer science and engineering, but it doesn't mean that people don't go for other kind of programs because this is just a representation for us to understand. There are a lot of students who go for many of the alternative fields or even now we are focusing everything related to art, right? More than STEM now that the STEAM education, which takes precedence over that, because we feel that the student should be well-rounded one, and art is a medium through which you can probably teach science or you can find an art in science. So that's the background too. all this. So these are all few information that I want to share before we set stage to the main presentation for today. The Education USA centers across the globe advocates 5 steps to US study, and we recommend a timeline of 12 to 18 months to complete this. The stage, by now, most of you are in the stage 3, which is completing your application and you're all set out to. And now with the number first, I'm sure many of your kids would have even applied to the institution, so on and so forth. Maybe there's the time primarily for submitting the financial application, and maybe you still have few more universities where the students are planning to apply to. So our focus is going to be more on the step 2, because I feel the step 2 is absolutely sandwiched between finding your right institution and also putting your application, because sometimes what happens, even at this application stage, suddenly you feel you want to assess whether you can afford that education. So we go back and forth in all the step 1 to 3 till we actually submit the application to the university. So what is the step 2 is all about? Financing your studies. This stage is very, very crucial because here is where parents and the student jointly create a budget, or parents at least express what is that they can really or have earmarked for a student's education, and what is the limit that they can stretch up to, so on and so forth. So before identifying how much I can actually spend, it's imperative that we need to understand how much a college education really cost for us. Okay, so that's where this entire financial profile actually stems up. If you look at the cost of attendance, this is going to be a common word in most of the places. Sometimes this is I would say, the professional name for the money that you're going to pay for a college. But generally, you may see that people refer to the sticker price in many places. So the sticker price basically helps us to understand how much an education is going to cost in that particular institution. So they have two components. One is the tuition and fees, and the other one is the living costs. All these sub elements under each of that is quite self-explanatory, and I'm sure many of you have already gone through this in the respective university website. It is important to understand that this is a variable one, not only for between universities, even for a student this can be a variable factor, because sometimes the scholarships that the student get, or the financial aid the student receive from external institutions, or let's say the student has taken more number of AP, and probably the institution is willing to take the waiver in the very first semester. All these put together can alter the cost of attendance per by I mean, specific to a particular student also. But by and large, we call this a ballpark figure, and this helps us to assess how we have to really plan for the education. I would say on an average, the pricing is around 35,000 US dollars. You will find institution that may cost lesser than this, but most of them would certainly cost you beyond that 35,000 US dollars. So, what are the sources of funding that you normally identify? Typically, parents, family members, and sometimes sponsors. And parents also maybe personal savings, or you may go with an educational loan. It all depends on how things really span out. The US University also awards scholarships, but we come to know of it only after an admission is received from the institution. Till such time, this is like an X factor. I may have all the profile to receive one, but till I get an confirmation or admission information from the university, I won't know how much I'm really going to get. The third one is something that you can expect to have when the student lands in a US campus. Again, the on-campus work or the CPT, the on-campus work is subject to availability. Sometimes at the undergrad level, for the first year, they may not really get anything. Only from the second year, they will get. So all these are very, very subjective. The last one, again, I'm sure there are many trusts and foundations in India also support students with a scholarship for their international education. However, there are they are so much limited, and the concentration is more for graduate program than the undergraduate education. So primarily what happens is we all everything boils down to the first option, the parents, family members, or other kind of sponsors. When you actually look at universities or before finalizing them, if in case there is a heavy dependency on financial aid and scholarship, we always recommend do your thorough research on various avenues for finding the scholarships. Because after applying, if you are going to search for many of these scholarships, may have a deadline like October or December. So if you miss the bus and you're going to look at it after you get an admission, it's just a futile attempt. But before applying, I would also heavily recommend on looking at the common data set for individual universities. See, the common data set is primarily, I would say, a fact sheet that every university releases after, let's say, when a fall begins, which will showcase how many students have applied to the university, how many by, like, say, early action or early decision, how many have got admitted, but how many have really accepted the admission offer, what is the tune of funding given to those people, what were their average GPA, the SAT scores, and so many other information, sometimes ethnicity from the country where they are coming from. All these information is available for you in the common data set, because that helps us to sort of assess the generosity of an institution to some extent, whether how much fund they have and how will they really pay up those students who are applying to their university. Um, so once you do all these research, and I think it's high time that you apply to the university and also think about the financial profile. So the financial aid, there is a definitely a difference between financial aid and a scholarship. So the scholarship is something which is only looking at the parameters required for awarding a scholarship, probably like say the just the GPAs or probably the sports scholarship and things like that. The financial aid primarily looks at not only the student profile, it also looks at the financial capability of the parents to pay for the education, and then they decide how they have to really, or how they want to really support a student. So on that note, if you look at, there are two types of aids are awarded. One is need aware and the other one is need blind. If an institution say that they are need blind, 90% of the time, they are not going to ask you for filling up any sort of a financial profile form. Whereas if the university says that we are need aware, then those are the ones who really want, apart from the student's profile, they also want the parents' financial profile for them to understand how much this family can really afford to pay for the student's education. When we talk about the need aware institution, most of them may come up with, let's say, the CSS profile or college scholarship services profile, which is a college board initiative. Some of them may not use a CSS, but they may have their own proprietary financial forms, which they want you to fill up along with the application for admission. The second category, FAFSA, this is very, very particular only for students who are American citizens. Let's assume a case where the parent is an American citizen, but not the student. So automatically the student is considered as a international person and not an American citizen. The flip side of it also can happen where the student is an American citizen, but the parents are Indians. In that case, definitely the student has to fill up a FAFSA form. However, in those instances, the parents will be asked to give a profile where they will come under a non-US tax return filing citizens. Okay. Okay. Now, I think this is sort of clear, and I think by now many of you would have done a lot of research in every university, whether to consider whether they are need aware, need blind, etc. But always read the fine prints well, because sometimes the need aware could be only for American citizens or domestic students, as they call, and need blind also could be only for domestic students. So only if there is a category where it says for all, where the international students also form a part of it, you would be required to fill up any of these sort of applications. Okay. A few terminologies that I thought you must know before we go on with the session. The sticker price, which is the cost of attendance as we call it, and then net price calculator. See, this NPC helps the family to understand how much this institution is going to cost me. But this is just an estimation. And here also, the net price calculator can be more personalized, where if you give all the student related information, their GPA, their other profile, and also the family income, etc., it can come up with how much this university is going to cost you, and what is the probability of getting some sort of support from the institution, and what is the net price you will be paying to support this education. If you go to this Big Future College Board, I think at the end I will share all these resource links through the chat box. They have net price calculator for all the colleges. So they will give the college and the corresponding link. You can just click that to compute the net price for a particular university. Then you will hear this term also very often, EFC or expected family contribution. So the expected family contribution is basically the money the family is ready to spend. So the difference between your sticker price and the EFC is what, if it is a need aware institution, may be willing to pay you. That's what we call it as financial aid. Sometimes you should also be aware everything depends on the funding level at the university, student profile, and other circumstances that they consider to compute what is the financial aid that they can award for a particular student. Sometimes, let's say, my the difference between my family contribution and the cost of attendance is very huge. The university may come back and tell you, sorry, we can only support you with 50% of this, or we can support you only with 25% of it. Only fewer institutions say that they will, completely fill the gap. 100% they will pay you the difference between COA and the AFC. So it all depends on the university, student profile, and family contribution, etc. And there is no one formula anyone can tell you about it, because sometimes when all we know is we are filling the information that we are aware of and submit the CSS, but the university have their own policy to compute certain things as what will be your EFC, what will be your uh, you know, the amount that they can provide you, etc. So it's not like a simple ABCD that we talk about. It is a more to it, that which is very, very sometimes specific to a university as well. Um, if in case you are filling FAFSA, some of you might come across this adjusted gross income, or AGI, it's known as. I have pulled out this definition from the US government's Internal Revenue Service, IRS department. They are something like our income tax department in India. So any American citizen will be filling their information through the IRS, and it will generate a tax form called W-2. And though we can't go in detail into what are the elements of the W-2 because I'm not an American citizen first. And we recommend that the parents who are American citizens to consult the IRS website or the FAFSA website to get more details. Because what happens, some of you would be earning only in India. You lived in the US for some time. So to retain your social security number and everything, probably you're still, filing maybe even zero tax. We are not sure of it. But if in case you have double income, earning from India and also earning in the US and other things, we would certainly recommend you to consult some of these IRS FAQs or write to them so that they can give you more clear instructions on that. Now we'll get on to the CSS. So primarily the CSS dynamic form, in the sense, not dynamic completely, but to some extent, because the parental income and the source of income, decides the inputs that you have to give. For example, if you're a parent who own a business, it may have some additional information that you have to provide. But if you are a parent, you're say like employed by others, then there may be different set of questions that you may come across. But by and large, it takes a lot of things like income, expenditure, assets, and any sort of liabilities that you have, so that I would say, in short, it is a balance sheet that the university is taking from you to compute what is your eligibility to pay for the education. There is a student guide which CSS Profile gives. So it's like one miniature form, I would say, which helps you to know the steps involved in completing this. So typically there are 4 steps for CSS. So you basically sign in, register, and prior to this, I'm sure most of the students would have a college board, login credentials. So use the same college board login credentials to get into the CSS also, because CSS is supported only by college board. And you have to complete and submit the application. And though it says that it is a scholarship service, unfortunately, it's not a free application. It is an application for which you need to pay some money. Typically, you have to pay a $25 basic fee for one application, and any additional application that you would like to submit for universities, it will cost you an additional $16 per application. And if you are a candidate, you have already received a fee waiver through College Board, then you may be eligible for the CSS fee waivers also. Otherwise, everybody has to pay this money, or you can write to the institutions and check with them. Is there a way that they can recommend you for a fee waiver? Okay. The first step I always ask the students to do is, even before creating a profile in the CSS, first assess whether are you required to submit this CSS profile. Because a lot of times I have seen they all create a profile, but only when they come to submit to the university, they realize for an international students, it is not required. So this is a dashboard that is available, which will tell you the participating institutions under CSS. I think it roughly comes to around not more than 300 institutions that are part of this. And not only that, not all of them require the CSS form for international students. So just to give you an example, I have put this Amherst College, which says yes for CSS profile for international students. Whereas if you go to Bentley University, it says no for. Even Boston College do not require. So make sure whether you really need to go through this process and then create a profile for you. And this is a very good video, a short video which explains well enough to understand what will you be going through in to create your CSS profile. Okay, the first step is registration. So I said already, it's a dynamic form, and you'll use your College Board account to register. Predominantly, you should have all your basic personal information to fill up this, and then we'll move on to the next steps. So 3 components you'll be filling in CSS profile: the parents' data, the students' data, and explanation to give if you have any sort of special circumstances that lead to your inability to pay for the student's education, or you're overburdened with certain things which you feel you will not be able to afford that much money for the student education. The primary thing we need to understand here is about the tax years as per CSS. All these forms, first of all, are created primarily for American citizens. So some of them may not really represent all that we want to, showcase in terms of the Indian context. So the first thing we need to understand about is the tax years. So in the US, the tax years are different. Primarily the calendar year they follow. Some of them may follow a different fiscal year, which is like October to September. And in some other country, it could be totally different. So when it comes to India, all our financial years are April to March. So yeah, the terminologies I have explained, and I've also mentioned to you which financial year it typically, expects you to provide the information. So I assume most of you are going to go for the fall 2025 academic year. Why they are asking this financial profile is basically they are trying to understand the financial stability the family has. Say last year could have been a great year for me. The current year I may go through some problem. in the future year, I may again come back to the same situation. In the case of students, what happens? Like last year, let's say the father was doing very well. Maybe the current year he has lost the job, or the both the parents are now taken a sabbatical, so they have very less money to pay for. And then in the future year, you hope to go back to work. So the university know how the financial pattern is for the family. So that also might help them to be little more empathetic towards you, provided they have funding and you have the profile to support you with additional financial year. So I know it is a lot of work, but it's good to provide those information. So typically in our case, most of the parents would have completed paying taxes for the previous tax year, and they are the recent tax year is one we are going through now. So when your kids are already going to be in the kids go to the college in fall 2025, we will be in the future tax year, that is FY 2025-26. But typically the form will probably ask you only for the previous tax year and the recent tax year, because they are also reforming the forms in such a way that they don't want to additionally burden the parents. Whereas they will have, for the American citizen, it will be the last 2 years that they are expecting to see before the students step into the 2025 academic year. Okay? So just keep a note of this. And these are the standard required documents you should have before you actually start filing the CSS or any financial application form before. All your income tax statements, because I know when you submit your ITR 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever category you come into, you will also have the tax returns generated by the income tax department, or if you have a form 16 or all that will help you to have this information on hand for you. And any type of savings or the mutual fund stocks, everything that you are maintaining, have a annual summary of all of them ready with you, so that it is so easy to fill the CSS form when you have them. And all the information that you are going to provide in the form is for a year and not for a month or so. So it's good to have a complete picture of all the expenses, income, everything for a specific year. So now what I have decided is I don't want to show the screenshots, and I already have at the background one of a form that I've created. I thought I'll walk you through that. That'll be better. Okay, so this is our opening screen. So when you have to log in here, and we are now filling the application for the fall 2025 session.
We are not able to see that screen.
Yeah, I am trying to share it. I think I'll stop share and reshare, because the tab, I don't know, for some reason, it's not allowing me to show that. Yeah. Can you see that now? I hope it's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So what are those things that you have to be aware of most of the time is, say when you first create your profile, it'll ask you some standard questions, and then when you enter few details and save the form, you can exit and come back to the form again. Multiple times you can do a login it. I'm sure most of you know. Please be aware it generates a College Board Financial Aid ID. Keep this handy at all times, because sometimes even after you submitting the CSS form, the university may say that I have not received, and no, we couldn't see it, and things like that. So please always code this so that it helps the university to track it. And now they are also making sure that they definitely receive the form by tagging the university allotted ID to you say even if it is a common app ID, or if you are already submitted the application, and if the university has given you a application ID or something, even that you can refer when you are going to choose the respective university for sending the CSS profile. So that way they can be 100% sure that your application is mapped to the corresponding financial aid form. Okay. So fine. So I'll just continue this application so that you will know how many sections basically we need to fill in. We have 17 sections here. And I would say if you, I wouldn't recommend anyone to go through it in one go at all. You can take a break and then fill the details according to the way you want it. But if you have all the documents ready and you want to go it in one go, typically this may take, say, around 1 hour and 20 minutes with all the calculations and everything that you want to internally do. But other than that, I would recommend 2 to 3 days is the right amount of time that you should spend on the form so that it helps you to get everything in order. So we'll go with the getting started. I'll go with the edit answers. So it's a very good getting started information that they give. Please spend some time to read through that. So most of the questions that you have in your mind will be cleared by that. And then it also redirects you to a frequently asked questions. So this is nothing but all the student, I mean, the preferred name, first name and everything. Make sure you have the names matching with the passport. Many times I mean, we have had queries in the past too. People apply for a new passport after doing everything. The name has changed. We always recommend that you connect with the university, either undergrad admissions coordinator, or if there is a communication with the financial aid office, and please intimate them any changes that has happened to your application or any of the supporting application materials. So you can give the phone number and other things for verification. It asks for all the date of birth, country where you're living. So this never married is an important option because if the student has dependents, then the entire form will change and it will ask many other questions. That is why I asked. That is why I mentioned it's a dynamic form. And in the case of parents also, I may have to just show you a few things. Okay, the country where you're living, you have to specify. And if it also asks for a citizenship, say, for example, if the state permanent residency, if you live outside of the US or Canada, please select none of the above required. But if you are a US citizen, when there is a question on the citizenship comes, you will get additional questions for that also. Every time when you save the form, it will ask for the confirmation on the date of birth. So this is the question I told you about. If you choose US citizen, then it will ask for other questions. Eligible non-citizen, all that you need to mention. In our case, we are going with the Indian context, so it is other. And when it is other, it will automatically ask for the country of origin and the visa type that you are going to go with. And here they once again confirm whether the student has any dependents. So you can say that. And then give your address. Okay. This happens if in case last year, let's say you applied, you did not get a good admission. So again, you want to apply this year. For those people, if they already have the last year CBI financial ID, they can specify here so that the form gets automatically populated and it becomes a lot easier. You need to change probably only the numbers and it helps you to complete the form quicker. Okay. All the basic information is accurate. Okay, now, so the first section is student section. All the personal details about the student is being asked over there. And now the section begins with the parents. So the parents' name you can give. And you can, so in the case of like, adoptions, different biological parents, everything, you may have sometimes 3 parents to specify. If you are in such situations, I mean, feel free to connect with the CSS office. They have lot of resource materials on divorced parents, separated parents, parents never married. Though I know these cases can be very less in India, but sometimes we do come across such things. So if you need additional resources on this, CSS has very good information on how do you go about doing all of them. And if you have queries, you can also reach out to the Education USA offices. Okay. So this is where the parents have to give their status. Depending on the status, there will be additional informations coming. So I'm just going with one straightforward case of married or in domestic partnership. So whatever country we belong to, and then which academic year you're going to, which academic year the student is in, whether the 12th grade or the first year. Because some of the transfer students also will fill the CSS form. So these information is very important. So current high school, if you have your SEEB code, you can search through that and fill it, or you can say not listed and give the details about the school. I recommend the parents to reach out to the individual school counselors if in case you have doubts about the SEEB code, and they would be, in a position to help you better. Here, if the student is receiving scholarship, you can mention about it, or any amount, any field which is mandatory and you don't have an information for it, especially numeric fields, make sure you put a zero there. Without a zero, CSS treats it as an incomplete form and it wouldn't allow you to budge further. So make sure you're putting a zero over there. Here it says what is the money paid towards Dheeraj's education. If in case you don't know how what to include in that, if you click the what should I include, it will give you the breakup of information that goes into for inputting the value over there. Every time you read this, it will be very clear to any parent who is working on this, and you can easily fill up that information. Okay, this is the place where we are going to add all the universities which require CSS profile from us. Either if you know the CSS code number which is given in their website, you can search by that, or you can just click a college or program name. I can simply say, let's say I want to go to Bentley. It will give me the CSS code for Bentley, but also see that it says domestic graduate, it accepts that, and international graduate, it doesn't accept. But I'm sorry, we are in the undergrad part. So if you look at that, it says domestic undergraduate accepts, international undergraduate applicant doesn't accept. So there is no need to fill up a CSS form for Bentley. So at least at this stage, if you figured out that if your college doesn't require, you can just, discard the form and come out of that. So I don't want to do for Bentley, or I can add for anything. But I know Cornell definitely requires it. So I've already added Cornell, and then just say save and continue. So here you can, give your profile of how you're going to live in Cornell University, whether you're going to take on campus, you take off campus, or with parents, with relatives, any of this option that is suitable, you have to fill in. I was mentioning to you about that application ID which they are mapping. So this is the place where you can give, if Cornell University has already assigned you an ID, you can mention that ID so that this CSS form will be linked to your application. Then it says, are you applying to the school for regular decision early action? Everything matters because the financial aid pool also changes according to the decision cycle that you're going to apply for. And then I just save and continue the college profile. Like this, you have to do for every single university you're going to select through this process. Then it asks for the currency. They say there is a question, should I convert my amount to the US dollars? You need not, because you should enter the financial amount in the currency you want to report it to. Here, we come across sometimes parents earning in multiple currencies. Maybe the father is in the Middle East, the mother is here in India, so they earn in different currencies. Whatever, say, what you have to look at is look at the primary currency, or you keep this where the student is, that should be the uh, currency with which you want to report. So if the student is also living in the Middle East, no questions asked, so you can report it in dirham, real, or whatever. But if the student is living in India, one parent is in a Middle East and the other parent is in India, our recommendation is that you submit everything in INR, and there is additional information or special circumstances provision is given. There you can explain the father is earning in this. This is the conversion rate we have used. This is the annual income in the local currency, and this is the equivalent to it in INR. All that you can explain in the additional section. Okay? So for ease of operation, I've put everything under Indian rupee. Now comes the parent details section. So they want the parents, date of birth, and they want the email address. So anything, any question they have after receiving your CSS form, they can send that info. They can send those questions to your email ID, so that you will be in a position to submit the maybe an additional document or some explanation on the values you have used, or modify the form, so on and so forth. And these are all information purpose, but better to give whatever you want, whatever you wish to give here. And I always recommend, how will this be used? Should I do this? All the info sections, please read through them, because they have enough amount of information for you to self-fill this form, and I don't think you really need any hand holding at that part. Okay. So same question for the second parent. They're asking the email ID and stuff. So now both the parents' personal information is given, then comes the income of the parent. So when it comes to income, they will ask about the parent tax return status. So if you're not filing anything in the US, I would recommend, uh, okay, we'll finish the section and I'll take you there. So if the parent's current country tax year does not follow the calendar year, report information from the last tax year as it ended before April 1st, 2024. This is the reason I spoke about the tax years assumption in my the presentation screen. Because don't worry, if you're obviously most of us are non-US return people. So in that case, always follow the home country based on which you are filling up this particular profile. Okay. So definitely for the tax return for the previous year is filled, though it says 2023. In our case, this is 2023-24 financial year, which most of you would have completed. If not, you can say estimated and will file. Not file or not required to file also, you can say. Maybe that there is no income from one of the parent, and they don't even, but even in India, it is recommended we file a zero tax return. But if you have not done, you can always explain that in the additional information section. Then what type of tax return did the parents pay? So the specific scenario is more for US. So I don't think it addresses any of our Indian context questions here. So automatically, please choose other non-US tax return, so that you can select that and start filling the information. Okay. So here what it says is, the first question it asks is income introduction. So in the income introduction, what they mean by how much you earn from work is, they typically ask for components which are not given to you as in kind. Say, because I'm coming to the office, somebody is paying me conveyance. Because because I have to come and work for them, they pay me. They pay for my food. So these are all what we call as in kind or whatever. But the actual income for you is that which comes in the form of a salary, commission, wages. Maybe if you're a self-employed person, some income that you earn through the business. So those are the things that you need to report here. And it also clearly says that all taxed and tax exempt income. Maybe that you are getting something as a there are many tax exempted income is there. Some of the agricultural, anything that comes from the farm yield and all that are absolutely no tax. So you can add up everything and give here, or it for a salaried people, it is a simple, I mean, you take your salary slip and see which are comes under the income head, and you can definitely include it here. Even if you have included something which is not specified here, don't worry about it. Any kind of explanation you can provide in that additional section so that the people who are reviewing the form are able to understand the information that you have provided. So both parents should give their income, and then they also have to say what is the total compensation you earn from. So in the case of total compensation, both the parents say CTC has to be filled over here, and plus maybe any other thing, extra things that you get also gets filled in here. Then interest income, if you get, you can give both the tax and the tax exempt interest information. Same thing with the dividend. If you have heavily invested in stock and other things, if you are getting an annual dividend, you can mention the dividend income here. Everything is quite self-explanatory. If in case you have said that you are not you're a self-employed person, or you run a business or something, if you have chosen a different option, then you should also talk about the net income from businesses or partnership. Some people may have self-employed, maybe it's a single person, but if in case you are in a partnership firm, always mention what is your share of the partnership and not the full amount. Okay. And same way, if you have some rental income, royalties that you receive, or you have estate and trust, all this you can put in here. And if you have forms, even the form income can come here, if not zero. So don't worry too much about all this, because it's very, very straightforward. As long as you have your, balance sheet on hand, it's easy to really fill up this form. See, other taxable income, what can I report? It says taxable income can be capital gains, it can be pension, it can be annuities or unemployment compensation, anything that you are not able to specify as part of the income, it can come here. So this is normal, like somebody who has inherited property from ancestral property, or those sort of things. If you are still getting some, you are paying towards the capital gains, or you already have received some benefits through that, all that can come here. This pension, annuity and retirement distribution, I think it's not very common, but if you have not reported in any other places, you can definitely specify that value over here. And even if you have double reported, if you get, so when the university looks at the form, they may come back to you for a clarification. So that time also you can say it's an oversight and this is the right information. Okay. All taxes, mandatory withholdings. So this is like, because we are filing it for the current tax year that we have completed, we would have already paid some money as tax. Sometimes when I'm filling the information for the current year, what we call is this advance tax, right? So I know I have to pay so much tax to the government this year, but I have not completely paid. But I have to give a provision for how much tax I'm going to pay for this year. So in this section, this is what happens. All taxes, mandatory withholdings, they mean is definitely you have to pay those taxes, or like maybe some duty fees or something that you are expected to pay that year. All that comes under this particular section. If you just look at this, I have put the total tax I paid as 1,85,000. Out of this, what are the sources and amounts which are adding to the tax amount is my income tax is 90,000. And the other deduction which goes from this is towards my PF, which is 95,000. So these are all just a representation. You may have a different category of withholdings. In a business, it can be a different scenario. Suppose if you are also into import-export business, there may be additional taxes that you are expected to pay, or you may have to renew your import-export fee, that is the certification. All these are some mandatory expenses will definitely you have to spend on. So if you are able to highlight it that year, the university is also able to understand that so much is income, so much they are allotting for the future expenses, and so much is getting deducted from their salary, etc. Okay. And all these are very simple. So apart from your basic income detail, all the additional sources of income will come under this category. If you don't have anything, then you can go to the next sections. So if in case the separated parents, the alimony and all that information you have to give here. And here also you may come across two types of parental thing. If the parents are separated, whoever is the custodial parent with whom the child is living, and they have to definitely file the CSS profile. But if the other parent is not living with them, but contributing majorly for the students' education and other things, then they also have to fill the CSS profile. Only if there is a non-custodial parent but and also not providing anything to the student, can say that can give a disclaimer kind of a statement saying that I don't have any connection with the student and I don't pay for their education or anything, so I don't need to file the CSS. So you have to submit even the disclaimer to the university. So if you are in such situations, our advice is start this process much early, because all these back and forth things can take a little more time for you to, complete the process. Then this housing, food, and other living allowances, usually, this is for somebody who are following a particular faith. And if this faith that is described here doesn't come under your thing, just read all the information that they have given here. And based on that, if you think that you really need to report some figure here, please go with that. Otherwise, it is most of the time in an Indian context, it becomes zero. Okay, other untaxed income. What all can you include? They have already given all the information here, what to include and what not to include. Some of them may be in the typical American context, but in the Indian context, I think by now most of us know what we pay tax for and what we don't pay tax for. So we can include that particular amount here. So in this case, this is like, I have got this annual gift money from grandparents, because they felt that every year they give 25,000 for the grandchild. So if you have something like this, you can report. But if you feel this is a very, very minuscule amount, and I wouldn't recommend, even putting it out. Okay. So here you have to once again mention what is the total take-home pay of the parents, and then other taxable incomes that you would get, untaxable income. And that if you look at that gift money, what I have received, I have included it as an untaxable income because it's not an taxable income for me. And I'll say save and continue. Okay. Okay, so they have now taken all the information for the previous year. Now they are asking whether do you expect a change in the future year. So for us, either you can say yes, and it will ask you questions like what are the changes it's going to have, or I can simply check no, and if my situation is going to remain the same, I don't have to bother much about it. So if I click yes and save and continue, it will ask you to fill up this information for the next year to come, because otherwise whatever we discussed there, it's the same thing, only the value is going to change. If I say no and continue, it will straight away go to my employment introduction. So whether I'm employed by others, self-employed, unemployed, retired, or retired by choice, whatever, you can fill up the respective one. And based on that, it may ask some additional questions. So it's basically asking the profile and how many years this particular person has been working there. And do I have any sort of a retirement plan? In the Indian context, you can choose whatever is the appropriate retirement plan, because some people have their own thing, or it is employee sponsored, like PF. In most of the cases, it could be what do you call equal investment from the employer as well as employee, or if you have other type of savings that you are into, so please give whatever appropriate details you have here. And here it says report the total amount in this parent's tax deferred retirement accounts, regardless of whether the contributions were from this parent or made by their employer. So this is nothing but the total amount you are. So I have mentioned that 95,000 rupees is what I'm getting out of PF. That's my contribution. So I put it as 95,000 here. Sorry. Same thing for the next parent also they ask. I can say 50,000 is what the other parent is coming. Then they will ask about the housing information, whether you own a permanent house or no. If it is no, then they will ask about the rental information. If it's a permanent house, then there will be different type of information. So if I click yes and I say save and continue, here they will ask you to describe own home, rent, live with others, housing provided by employer. So the live with others is, I would say, a typical joint family scenario where the house is owned by the grandparent, but the income generator could be the father and the mother. So whatever is your situation, accordingly choose the right one here. If so, there is a question here like a home purchase year. So if I didn't purchase my home, so it is like it can be a ancestral property that automatically by way of legal rights that I have. The day you took the possession of the house or that year, you can mention here. The home purchase price is what is the value for which you bought the house, and the current market value is what is the value as of the present scenario. I think in India, there can be multiple market values. Some might go with there is a revenue guidelines given by the respective state governments. So you can give either the guideline value or you can go with what is the larger picture to it. Like in your area, what is the selling price for real estate? You can even use that as a guideline value. It's up to you, whatever you want to say. Because the reason I mentioned about guideline is in some cases, it's an unrealistic price that might be quoted for the real estate in our area. So if you want to give a more realistic picture, go with the guideline. Yeah. So the total amount owed on home is if the house is being bought on a home loan or there is a mortgage which is still going on in the house and other things, you can say that. So from the time of applying to the college, whenever the loan is going to get finished, whatever is the total amount you owe on the house, you can specify here. Or in, say, for example, I'd gone with a basis that I have another 3 years to pay back this loan. So based on on a monthly average of 60,000 rupees, I'm paying towards my housing loan. I have computed into 36 installments, so much amount. So all these, I'm sure you all know the value by yourself, but this is what you need to specify here. Because this way it shows that the family also have additional commitments. They have to pay for the housing loan, etc. So the monthly housing payment I've already mentioned here, so that they also verify how many more years are there for me to get out of this mortgage and stuff. Okay, now we have to give the household information. Who are all living in your house? Maybe there is a grandparent, you can mention that. And if you have multiple dependents, you can add all of them. Maybe that there is a sibling for the student who is studying, because the sibling also will have educational cost. So that also is a burden on the family. So it helps the university to understand your financial profile better. Okay. So this is basically they want to know whether that dependent is in school or not in school, because it's a grandparent. Obviously, it's none. Otherwise, it may come up with maybe the sibling is going to college next year and things like that. So this child support is mostly it's a US terminology, and I don't think it is applicable in any case unless and until if there is a apart from alimony that the separated parent gets, and if there is a separate income given to support the child, then it can come here. But if both those divorced parents are going to file CSS, my recommendation is don't put it over here, put it on the other form, whoever is giving you the major support. So it's all no for us here. Then there comes the expenses. So there can be medical expenses. Sometimes the medical expenses is beyond your insurance, but it is beyond 10% of your total income. Then you have to specify over here. The question is all about that. Say here, because there was a, let's say, emergency for the grandparent who stayed, and the insurance of the grandparent did not support completely the medical expenses. So there is an amount specified as 1,40,000, so which has gone towards the care for the grandmother. And do you anticipate such expenses in the future? If in case there are old people, it is better to give some estimation so that, I mean, God forbidden, we don't want anyone to fall sick, but better to give an estimation that always helps us. And if in case you have, is there any other, maybe for another child, you have taken a college loan and you are repaying it, then it is good to mention it at that point, because that's also an additional burden. So primarily expenses means anything that goes out of your hand, you can specify in this particular thing. And these are all living expenses. So give an estimation. No one is asking for a exact figure. So how much ever you plan to spend on all these things, you can give. It's an estimation, 30% towards this, 20% to something, 10% and things like that. It's all a continuation. And then comes the asset. So we have seen income, expenses. Now it is assets that they are asking. So here you can specify if you have any FD or savings account, cash, multiple FDs of both the parents, everything you can add and specify here. And if you have investments, you can talk about what kind of investments are there. If it is a business, then you should you will have a different income source that you have to specify. But for salaried people, it is just one income source, and I don't think that will have much of complications. Whether you own a farm or part of a farm, sometimes people owning agricultural lands also come under this category. And if it is legally registered and everything, you can declare it here. What assets are included under this category? If you say, they say that assets they own but are held in the names of their children. If you have such things, please specify. Otherwise, mostly it is no. And current market value of investments. So predominantly all your stock shares and some of the other stock holdings that you may have, different forms of that, everything you can specify. And this is just a estimated market value. We know it can pull down probably if there is a dip in the market and stuff. If you have any other real estate properties, number of houses, etc., you can specify that. Then you can, so now they are asking about the student income. So in this student income, most of them are, in our case, maybe if you have already given them a partnership in your business and stuff, and you're still filing a tax for them, you can say completed tax and maybe give all the whatever values you want to enter. In case of people who are not having businesses and the parents are employed and even self-employed, many of them may have not filed or not required to file category, and they just go with that. And this is what I meant, like student non-filer. If I'm not a student who's paying any taxes, I have to fill this non-filer form. And they will also ask me what is the income earned from work. If there is some part-time that the student is doing, they can specify here. But my advice is, if the student is earning some 500 rupees, something like that, I don't think you should really give all this information. If you have invested the FD or something on the student name, even that can fetch a interest income. And if that goes to student savings account, then you specify. But you invested in the student name, but the interest are routed to another account. I don't think we need to specify anything here. So those are all some small things that you need to keep in mind. So there is if there is a financial aid that the student is getting from the school year, then if you have, I think in India, we don't have that much complications. So most of the time, the student section beyond certain things will be just zero. I request you to just take a look at that. So if you have filled the parents, most of this information is similar to the similar to that, but it's just that being a student, most of it will be zero for you. The expected income, sometimes people ask me whether, okay, here I have put one thing as 1 lakh because I mentioned that the grandparents give every year, let's say 25,000, but they've also earmarked 10 lakh for the students. If you want to quote that for on the student name, then you can specify who is going to give funds to pay for the colleges. So those are all some very self-explanatory and easy to fill information. So I'm sure you can definitely do that. So if there is any fund that they are likely to remove from the government, they can give here or just say no. They may not receive any international student funds. Tuition benefits, no. Parents will pay for anything for the student and just say continue with the assets. If anything in the student name, please fill. If not, just leave it. Yeah. So okay, this is the special circumstances section. This is very, very important. In this case, you may have many categories under which you want to give them explanations. Yes, you can do it. Either it can be change in employment you want to explain, you want to talk about the exceptional medical because you have a grandparent, or you may have other also. Just save and continue. And here there is a 2000 character limit. This is where you have to explain all those where you cannot clearly inform through the information that you have filled in the form. That includes parental income, student income, exceptional medical emergency, or any sort of things that you may undergo, or additional student who for whom you have to pay student loan and things like that. All that you can explain in the section. Multi-currency income, parent being non-American citizen, student being American citizen, all that you can explain here in this particular place so that the university is able to attach a context to the form that you have filled. So when you fill all this, the 17 section gets over. You can review your application. And if everything is in order, you can submit this application to every single college that you have selected in the dashboard. So every time when you submit an application, it will ask you to pay the $16 money. Pay that, and then it gets completely submitted to the university. After you submit this, if in case the university feel that they also require supporting documents for all the information you have provided here, you will receive an email from the university with a link to access what we call as a iDoc portal. Information on documentation. iDoc we call it. I think if I have a screen, I'll just show that. Yeah. So this is also part of the CSS profile, but you can't directly upload anything. The school has to send out an email to you and it will get activated and you will submit your ITR returns, audit statements. Sometimes you have declared FD, you have to disclose the FD statement. And maybe if you're earning from stock and other things, they may want to see the stock and share. Whatever additional documents that they are asking, you have to upload through this so that the school is able to review the form in your favor. And along with the admission, they can tell you how much financial aid has been awarded to the student. So this is all about CSS profile. And there is no one formula to fill this. It is entirely your profile that you are going to fill in here. make sure you have all the data on hand, and also you have all the supporting document to justify the data that you have presented here. If both are there, it is easy to fill the form. So have all the income detail, all the assets detail, expenses, and any other that you want to specify in the form. So if you have this, it's definitely a cakewalk, I would say. I'm sorry I've taken extra time, and I hope this is clear. I'm open to take any further questions from the parents or any attendees who are here.
Ms. Shanti, was there a question?
No, not yet. I didn't get it. These are the resources that I was mentioning. So we will share it with Ms. Manisha, and I think she can share it with all the participants.
Excuse me, ma'am. I have a question. Ma'am, actually, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The question is from Mr.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So,
Hi.
ac-
Yeah.
ac- actually, I was asking this that if my father has a property which he has given on rent and
Mm,
like he's receiving rent from it, but
mm,
he's deducting the amount he's receiving, like the amount which he's paying for the maintenance of the property.
mm,
So, in the tax document, it's like the
mm,
amount of income is the total amount that we are getting.
mm,
Then we deduct the amount that we are paying on the property, and then we
mm,
are filing the tax.
mm.
So this amount, like after the deduction amount, will be used when mentioning that income, or like before the deduction amount.
So the rental income, I would definitely see. Okay, I don't think there is a separate section to show on maintenance of the property. If there is any input that you are able to give as maintenance of the property, then I would recommend on the rent, you should give the gross amount on the rental income. Whatever you are spending on the maintenance of the house, you will show as the expenses. So automatically, it will be subtracted, and the remaining is actually what is your, say, either a taxable income.
Ma'am, so if it is, if there
Mm.
isn't a place to mention it, so we should just mention the total
Net
taxable
amount. I would recommend net amount.
net amount or the
Net.
taxable income.
See, the taxable income will come under rental income. If they are asking what is the let's say the future amount that is for the next year, if they ask what is the amount that you will be earning through this, at that time you can give the maintenance deducted from the actual rental income.
Okay.
So what I'm basically trying to say is current you show as it happens. For the future, be a little conservative by only giving after deducting the maintenance.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone?